Last time, we saw the arrival of some time travelers. A very different set of them too. Also, the entire future timeline is different, to the point where the androids actually weren't too much of a threat. But in order to bring Goku back to their timeline, this seemed to be the only way. But how is this going to affect the present timeline, even though it won't really affect the future? We'll be seeing all that and more in this part 7 of What If Vegeta Hit His Head. There's a 3-year passage of time just like normal. Goku and Vegeta continue training together. I mean, nothing's really going to change that. Even if the time travelers didn't show up, they'd be doing this. It's just now it's a little bit more intense. Trunks and Gohan are involved as well. But there's a few major changes here with that, besides the obvious stuff with Vegeta and with Trunks, I guess. For one, Vegeta and Goku actually learned to do Super Kaioken. Goku's actually the first one to do it, which surprised Vegeta because he got a little bit ahead by doing so. Although, there's a big issue with Super Kaioken. They could barely use it. Kaioken alone is stressful, especially for Vegeta who isn't as practiced with it. Super Kaioken is extremely powerful, but it can only really be used in short bursts, especially because they haven't mastered Super Saiyan yet, so that makes it even more strenuous. They can probably do it for 1 or 2 attacks during battle. But this can't be all there is to it. I mean, the future Vegeta had that too, didn't he? Well, Goku theorizes that something's different here. Future Vegeta practiced with that in Otherworld. Here, they're both alive. In Otherworld, yeah, it's still going to be stressful, but that Vegeta was already more practiced with the Super Saiyan as is. He was older and more experienced, and he probably had a better control in Kaioken because he might have even visited King Kai in that time. So Goku tells Vegeta not to beat himself up about it. Even Goku's having trouble with it. But this is nice, at least they could use it for short bursts of attacks. That could be helpful. Obviously, that's not the only thing they focus on, because they know it's probably not the best thing to focus on. They're focused more on just making Super Saiyan better, and practicing new techniques and such. Goku did learn a lot of stuff in Otherworld, and kind of wants to apply that here. Also, another huge change, Goku doesn't come down with the heart virus. Vegeta's able to pick up on when Goku's acting differently, and it's very minute, but at some point right before the androids are supposed to show up, Goku shows some signs of it. Some very small signs of exhaustion, him not being himself, and Vegeta makes him take that medicine right away. This prevents the heart virus from affecting him later on, so he's actually fine. Although to rewind a little bit more, there is still a little bit of a change with the humans. The main 3 that we see there are actually more involved. The fruit of the tree might really help them. They're still behind the Saiyans, but they're way stronger than they were normally, especially Krillin. He's much more motivated here. He's very different because he's a lot more proactive than normal. Not that he wasn't already, but here, Krillin is basically a new person. Vegeta's influence and inspiration has really helped him, as well as his influence from his best friend Goku, of course. Or one of his best friends. He, Vegeta, and Goku, they're basically a trio. They're basically a group of best friends. A much different dynamic than the normal Vegeta, especially at this point in the story. But that should be pretty obvious. And also on top of it, maybe Goten will train a bit, but he's not really going to get involved here. He still is too young, and even though Gohan and Trunks started training at pretty much around the age that he is now, he's not going to be helping against the androids. It's too risky to have him there. The time travelers even warned against this because they knew that Goten probably wouldn't be able to help there. But the group should be pretty prepared here. At some point, Bulma would probably even suggest to try and use the Dragon Balls to find Gero before he's a problem, or at least find the androids, but no one's going to go for that. The Saiyans still do want to try and see how strong they are, and the humans actually do want to do the same too. So, androids 19 and 20 show up. Of course, they don't realize that these aren't the same androids as before, but it doesn't really matter. They're defeated relatively easily, actually. It's strange though, because the time travelers still haven't shown up yet. It takes a bit of time, but eventually they do show up. Glad to hear the androids have been defeated. Although, something is pretty concerning. Goku says it wasn't too hard to defeat that old man and that doll-looking dude, but that kind of throws the future time travelers off guard. What do they mean? The 2 androids they fought, they're supposed to just be normal-looking teenagers. So, they find out that these aren't actually the same androids, but it should be okay because after they talk about it more and get some info from Bulma, it seems like one of the androids they killed was Dr. Gero maybe, who probably was responsible for creating them in the first place, which also means 17 and 18 shouldn't be activated. Although, just to make things safe, they should probably try and locate his lab, just to make sure that the androids don't eventually wake up, because maybe they're on a timer or something. They have no clue. But this is good. They might have completely stopped it. But before they do so, the future time travelers were promised a sparring match. Honestly, it's not too big of a deal for Trunks because he's already fought future Vegeta, but they mainly want to fight Goku. Although, Vegeta's a bit bummed because he kind of wanted to see his future self. He's surprised they didn't bring him back here, but they said they didn't really need to. They just came here to make sure everything was okay. Unfortunately, nothing changed in the future because everyone's already defeated here. But at least they saved whatever timeline this is. Goku's perfectly fine, the androids are stopped seemingly, and things should be all good. And Goku's glad to be able to fight them. The first one he faces is future Goten, who seems to be the weakest of the 3, but still pretty strong in his own right. Goku actually is able to beat him. And next, he's up against Gohan. Gohan's actually stronger than him. Not by a huge amount, but still, he is stronger. And he can tell that Goku's been training very intensely. Ever since they defeated the androids in the future, these 3 have been training a lot as well too. Just in case there are any other future threats, they want to be very prepared. Same goes for Vegeta. They even talk about him a bit. He's the strongest warrior in their timeline. Although, Gohan feels like he could probably surpass him soon. Same with Trunks. Future Vegeta thinks that their huge potential will help them grow past him. And Goku and Vegeta aren't too surprised. They've always thought the same about the hybrid Saiyans in this timeline too. And they'd love to see their sons grow stronger than them. The battle continues though. And then Goku notices something during the fight. He senses a strange energy nearby, and the others could sense it too. It briefly flared up but then disappeared. They don't know what it is. And then at the very last instant, Goku dodges an attack. Something flies out towards him, trying to stab him it looks like, and he sees right behind him. Some green monster's there, and he just tried to strike Goku with his tail. The man starts trying to fight Goku, also trying to continue stabbing him, but his eyes dart around. He sees that he might be outmatched here. He didn't realize 5 of them were here at the moment, especially those time travelers. He only sends Goku, Gohan, and Goten. Although it's interesting, those versions of them are here too. They have no clue of who he is, but they know he's a threat, and probably related to the androids somehow. Obviously, this is Cell. Although, he's a bit different than normal. He has different DNA. He doesn't have Piccolo's DNA, but he does have Turles in place of it, which might not seem like a big deal, but it kind of is. That's why he had to attack point blank with his tail. He couldn't stretch it out. He doesn't have Piccolo's and Namekian DNA within him. They didn't get King Piccolo or regular Piccolo's DNA, for pretty obvious reasons. And he's also not going to be able to regenerate if he does get attacked, but still, he's pretty powerful. In the timeline where he got his time machine, he was able to get power from all 3 of the hybrid Saiyans, as well as Vegeta, covertly attacking everyone and stealing a bunch of energy, as well as whatever energy he's gathered here so far. So, he's actually stronger than the normal imperfect Cell that we saw, at least for the time being. And Cell inquires, what have they done with the androids? Why does he want to know? Well, they say if he's allied with them, they're dead. Androids 19 and 20 have been killed. Interesting, 19 and 20 have been killed. That means 17 and 18 still might be around. He could still absorb them. They might be back at the lab. He's outnumbered here. If he continues fighting, he's going to definitely be killed. He needs to leave right now. They all recognize him as a threat, especially now with him asking that question. So Cell performs a solar flare, making a run for Jiro's lab. The time travelers immediately rocket off, trying to follow his energy, while also blinded. Goku tells them, chase that guy down. They don't know what he's up to, but those 3 could stop him. He has a plan, and they're going to catch up with the hybrid Saiyans in a bit. Just follow him while they can. He's trying to suppress his energy, but not completely. Cell needs to fly quickly. He needs to get to the lab first. They might already know about it. He doesn't know for sure. And because of this, the hybrids are able to track him down. And you know, this might be good. He could take on all 3 of them at once. The 5 of them, he might not be able to fight, but 3 of them, he could definitely take. He continues flying towards the lab, throwing ki blasts back at them, trying to hold them off. But Cell needs to direct them away from the lab. He can't lead them right there. So, he changes course at the last moment, trying to fight them elsewhere. This is all happening in a matter of seconds. They land in the middle of nowhere. The 3 hybrids are all transformed, ready to face Cell, and Cell thinks his luck has turned around. He'll just kill these 3. Actually, he can take energy from them too, grow even stronger, and that way, he'll be able to make it to the lab no problem. First, he aims for the weakest one, Goten. And he's not messing around here. He tries to put all his power into one attack. He takes the stance of a Kamehameha. They're all confused. They still don't know who this guy is, and they see him performing this attack, and now they're sensing Goku's energy flaring up. He looks like Gohan, with Gohan thinking that Cell's gonna launch the attack at him. But then at the last second, he turns, launching it right at future Goten. And the attack makes contact. But it completely dissipates after a bit. Goten's standing there guarding, but he wasn't hit by an attack at all. Someone jumped in front of him, and the other 2 are confused. Actually, everyone's confused. They see someone standing there that they don't really recognize, but someone who also looks a little bit familiar. He tells them sorry for waiting. He just needed to wait for his vision to clear before he could perform this technique. Oh yeah, they're probably pretty confused right now. He tells those 3 not to worry. What they're looking at is a brand new fused fighter, the fusion of Goku and Vegeta, who they just like to call Gogeta. Wait, fusion? They kinda heard about this in the future. Vegeta mentioned it in passing, hearing it from Goku when he was in Otherworld briefly. That must be that technique that they used. Gogeta says that's exactly it. He doesn't know who this monster is, but this technique should be more than enough. It's his final trump card, and he knows it's gonna let him win here. Cell can't believe what he's witnessing. What is this? Gogeta explains. Back when Goku was in Otherworld with King Kai, he spent a little bit of extra time there, learning this technique too, never really getting the chance to use it, but he had practiced it with Vegeta, and the 2 of them agreed if they ever needed to use it to end a battle quickly, they would. And given the fact that they don't know how big this threat is, they want to guarantee that they can get rid of it, and this way, they definitely can. They even considered using Super Kaioken, but they decided to do this instead, powering up, going Super Saiyan. This'll be more than enough. Actually, probably overkill. Gogeta moves so quickly that it looks like he just vanishes. He just disappears, turning invisible. They could sense his energy, but they can't see him. And it almost looks like Cell's being attacked by nothing. With a few quick moves, Gogeta's able to completely eradicate Cell, not wanting to take any risk here with him. That was pretty fun. It was the first time they got to use fusion in a battle, even though they really overpowered him. Although, the only downside is he's got to wait a bit to defuse. Thankfully, he used a little bit of power, so maybe it's going to run out a little bit quicker, but they're going to have to wait to turn to their normal forms. Wow, that was pretty awesome. Alright, well, Gohan says they should definitely learn that in the future too, if they could figure out a way to. Gogeta says, just go to King Kai. Maybe he'll give them a pass there. Who knows? Well, in the meantime, Trunks mentions that they don't know where Cell was heading. He clearly was heading towards something and changed course at the last minute. It's just a hunch, but maybe it had something to do with the androids. So they continue in the direction that Cell was originally heading. Not flying incredibly fast because they're just looking around below them at the ground, seeing if they can find anything strange. They eventually arrive at some mountains and see a weird hole in the side of one of them. Turns out, this is exactly what they were looking for, the laboratory. Gogeta says he's got this, about to destroy it, but before he can, Gohan says maybe they should check it first. Oh yeah, good point. He was being a bit hasty. They run in there, finding some plans for the other androids, and they take those just in case. They also find 17 and 18 in there, as well as some other androids that weren't finished. Still not activated. Great, now Gogeta can destroy it. He charges a massive Kamehameha, wiping out the entire thing. It's strange though, they still didn't find out who that green guy was, although now they might have their answer. Because of the destructive force of Gogeta's attack, it basically wiped away the entire top half of the mountain. And they see something weird, a tunnel that goes to an even deeper level. Looks like there's more in the lab left, and this is where they find out about Cell, seeing blueprints for him, and seeing this timeline's present Cell. Oh, so that's who they killed. They still don't know how he got here though, but it seemed like he wasn't from any of their timelines. So at least the future warriors will know to watch out for him, especially because later on, Bulma does find another time machine, right before the time travelers head back. So this is good. This timeline, it made it out completely safe. And the future timeline, they're warned about Cell. Gohan and Goten from the future also got to see Goku again, as well as seeing their past selves, which is a pretty cool experience. Same with Trunks seeing his past self too. Well, everyone thanks each other, seems to be mutually beneficial. And just like that, this saga's over. And now we enter another time skip, this time leading up to the Buu saga. Over this time, a couple questions are raised. For one, where are Raditz and Nappa? What are they up to? They still haven't seen them, and apparently the future time travelers didn't see them either. Goku and Vegeta don't even really know where to look, they just hope that they're not up to anything bad. Because, again, the last time they saw Raditz and Nappa, they accidentally tried to kill Goku and Vegeta. Not good, but that was probably just an accident and a one-time thing. Hopefully. There's also a few other things that happen here. Vegeta and Bulma end up having another kid. Bra is actually born earlier on than normal, so she'll probably be involved in the story later. But for now, she's obviously just a kid. Trunks and Gohan end up going to high school together, being in the same classes and all. The strangest part is, they become Saiyan 1 and 2. Trunks kind of reluctantly joined, but eventually did find it cool. Gohan was the one to spearhead the whole thing. Trunks does want to keep his identity low-key, and especially once Videl starts to try to figure out who they are, he tries to cool it down a bit. But Gohan continues fighting crime, not worried about his identity getting exposed. And you might think, well, they have tails, that's a pretty identifying factor. And here, they actually don't. The two of them got rid of their tails. I mean, they don't really transform into Great Ape anymore, and even if they wanted to use their wrathful form, they don't really touch upon it as much, and they could probably use it without their tails. They would look really weird at school with tails, and they don't really want to stand out too much. And Goku says it's fine, he's had his tail cut off before. Although, it might grow back. He's not really sure though. They're pretty confused on why Goten wasn't born with one though, but Vegeta says maybe it's just not necessary anymore, and maybe they'll be fine removing it. Goku and Vegeta will keep theirs though. They don't care about standing out like that. Trunks tries to at least cover for Gohan, but it's a little bit tough. The two are pretty obviously suspicious, and Trunks successfully avoids Videl. She doesn't figure out who he is, but he does hear in the class that people do like the Saiyaman. They're apparently pretty cool, and this almost makes Trunks give up his identity. At the time of recording, Saiyaman X1 and 2 are in the manga right now, and I don't know what happens next yet, but at this point Trunks is trying to impress Mai, so maybe he tried to do the same here, except with someone else. And there's a pretty obvious choice here. We'll say he's trying to impress Erasa, and maybe he gets back into being a Saiyaman. Although by the time he does, Videl's already found out Gohan's identity, and it's pretty easy to find out who Trunks is too. And Trunks almost gives his identity away to Erasa, but Gohan urges him to keep it secret. And Videl ends up training with Gohan one day too. Mr. Satan is still the world champ, but he's not the same hero he was because he never defeated Cell. Although, she's probably still out there fighting crime, and he's still very well known. Known as the strongest man on Earth, actually. But yeah, Videl ends up with Gohan, and who knows, maybe Trunks will end up with Erasa. But we'll have to see that later on, because now we head into the actual Buu saga. Or at least the tournament first. The first match is actually a pretty fun one. Gohan is up against Trunks. Also in the junior division, Goten's in there and basically sweeps everything. But in terms of this main one, they start off with a bang. Gohan versus Trunks, a fight between best friends. They each entered as Saiyamen though, just to keep their identity secret. So they have to kind of be careful and not expose their identity to anyone else. Videl knows and that's fine, but they really gotta keep it under wraps. The battle between the two begins, and they're having fun. Goku and Vegeta are also enjoying it too, wondering who's gonna win because both of them are on pretty even footing. But out of nowhere, they're attacked. Spopovich and Yamu enter, not really knowing who to aim for because they're both equal. They jump in and try to attack Gohan, and Gohan's suddenly paralyzed by someone. Shin's there in the crowd. He hasn't actually been spotted yet because Piccolo wasn't there to reveal his identity, and no one else really realizes who he is. Even Goku doesn't because he hasn't been with King Kai long enough to hear about these guys. But they explain to not intervene. Although, Trunks is definitely going to intervene. He powers up, angered seeing his friend hurt like that, even going Super Saiyan, which accidentally reveals who he is. But then, he's paralyzed by Shin, although that means Shin has to free his grasp from Gohan. And Gohan ends up breaking free, and then he starts fighting back. Shin then puts all his power into it, trying to hold both of them at once. And Spopovich and Yamu end up escaping. They actually didn't get too much energy, but they still got a good amount. Shin says he'll explain everything on the way. He needs their help here. He knows they're powerful, and they can help him stop the wizard Babidi, as well as Majin Buu. Kubito goes to heal Gohan and Trunks. The tournament didn't even start, so they're kind of pissed off. They wanted to at least stick around for it. Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and Trunks go off, following Shin with even Krillin deciding to go along. And Videl wants to keep up too, so she decides to go along too. Eventually turning back because she can't really keep up. But realizing how weird this all is, and a bit bummed that she can't go, but glad at least that Gohan didn't prevent her from going. And back at the tournament, Goten's there watching the whole thing. Why is everyone leaving? Well, looks like we're gonna have to wait till the next part to find out. This is where we'll leave off for now. What did you guys think about this part? And what's gonna happen next time with the change of events here? Leave any thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already, especially if you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.